You did it again. The bill was due yesterday, and you only realize it now, after opening your banking app with that sinking feeling in your chest. It's a physical thing, a tightness just below your ribs. Your breath gets a little shorter. You stare at the screen, at the number that hasn't changed, and you forgot. It wasn't that you didn't know it was there. You saw the email notification 3 days ago. You even opened it. You looked at the amount, felt that small, familiar twist in your stomach, and you told yourself, "I'll do it tonight." You swiped the notification away. You closed the app. You got on with your day. The bill slipped from your to-do list into a quiet, ignored corner of your mind. And then, in the shower this morning, or maybe while you were stuck in traffic, the thought hit you. A clear, cold voice in your head. The bill. It wasn't a gentle reminder. It was an accusation. Your pulse quickened for a second. You felt a flush of heat on your neck. And then, almost immediately, you pushed it back down. "I'll deal with it as soon as I get to my desk," you promised yourself. You said it with a kind of desperate hope, as if saying it could make it true. But a part of you already knew. You've made this promise before. This is the strange paradox. You are a responsible person. You work hard. You manage 100 other tasks. But this one simple thing, sending a payment that takes 3 minutes, becomes a mountain. The bill doesn't live in your mind as a neutral task, like taking out the trash. It arrives with a weight, a small, dense package of stress. It carries the whisper of pressure, the faint echo of a fear. What if there isn't enough? It reminds you of everything that's pending, everything that's stretching you thin. So you avoid it. Not because you're lazy or careless. You avoid it because your brain has learned that this particular task comes with a side of discomfort. It's a tiny emotional tax. And in a life that's already taxing enough, your mind looks for any escape, even if it's just for a few more hours. You close the browser tab. You tell yourself you'll do it after lunch. You buy yourself a little piece, knowing full well you're borrowing guilt instead. If this cycle feels familiar, you're not alone. This is more common than people talk about. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself, consider subscribing. This channel explores these quiet, everyday struggles. Let us know in the comments if you've ever had that "I'll do it later" moment with a bill. The late fee is just a number on a screen. The real cost is what happens inside you. The guilt that settles in after the panic fades. The quiet voice that says, "Why can't you just get this right?" It's not about the money you lose to the fee. It's about the trust you lose in yourself. You start to wonder if this is who you are now. Someone who forgets. Let's look at how this happens. Not as a moral failure, but as a psychological process. It often starts with a single, overwhelming month. Maybe you had an unexpected car repair, a medical bill. Your hours got cut at work. That month, every bill that arrived felt like a punch. Opening your mailbox was an act of courage. You paid them, but it hurt. It left a mark. From that point on, your brain started making a new connection. Bill equals threat. Not a life or death threat, but a threat to your peace, to your sense of stability. Neurologically, it's a form of conditioning. The envelope with the logo, the specific sound of the email alert, the sight of the banking app icon, they become triggers. They don't just signal a task, they signal a small wave of anxiety. So you develop rituals of avoidance. You leave the physical envelope on the kitchen counter, unopened, for days. You see it every time you make coffee. It becomes part of the scenery, a silent, nagging piece of furniture. You open the email on your phone, read the first line, your statement is ready, and immediately close it. You don't even let the amount register. It's a reflex, a flinch. Internally, a dialogue plays out. One part of you, the rational adult, knows what needs to be done. It's logical, simple. But another, louder part feels tired. It feels the weight of all the other bills, all the other responsibilities. That part argues, "You've had a long day. You're drained. Do it tomorrow when you're fresh." It's a compelling argument because it's partly true. You are drained. The bill becomes more than a payment. It becomes a symbol of your exhaustion. This is why generic advice like "just be more organized" or "set a reminder" often fails. The reminder itself can become the trigger. The alarm goes off on your phone. Pay electricity bill. And instead of acting, you feel a jolt of irritation. You dismiss the alarm. You've just reminded yourself of the thing you're trying to avoid, so you avoid the reminder too. The system sabotages itself. The avoidance provides a temporary relief. When you close that app, when you walk away from the counter, there's a palpable sense of escape. For a few minutes or a few hours, the pressure is gone. You breathe easier. But the relief is an illusion. It's a debt of anxiety that accrues interest. The task doesn't disappear. It grows. It gathers the extra weight of the late fee, the compounded guilt, the knowledge that you've repeated a pattern you swore you'd break. You're not managing a calendar problem, you're managing an emotional one. The bill is no longer just a request for money, it's a container for fear, for shame about past struggles, for anxiety about the future. Your mind isn't forgetting. It's deliberately looking away. In that space between seeing the bill and avoiding it, a story unfolds. It's quick, almost automatic. You don't sit down to write it. It writes itself in flashes of feeling and fragmented thoughts. The most common story is one of scarcity. Not just financial scarcity, but scarcity of energy, of time, of mental space. The bill arrives and the internal narrative begins. I'm already stretched so thin. This is just one more thing. I can't handle one more thing right now. The bill becomes proof of your overwhelm. It's not an isolated task. It's the representative of everything pulling at you. Paying it feels like conceding to the pressure, like admitting that the pressure has won. Then there's the story of failure. This one is quieter, more insidious. It connects this month's bill to last month's struggle, to the debt you're trying to pay down, to the financial goal you haven't reached. The thought isn't, I need to pay $80. The thought is, I'm still here, I'm still dealing with this, I haven't moved forward. The payment becomes a ritual of disappointment, a monthly reminder that you're not where you hoped you'd be. These stories change the task completely. Logging into your bank account is no longer a transfer of funds. It's a confrontation with a personal narrative. You have to face the number in your checking account. You have to acknowledge the gap between what you have and what you need. For a moment, you are financially naked. It's vulnerable. It's uncomfortable. So you postpone the confrontation. You tell yourself you'll do it when you feel stronger, more capable, more like the person who has their life together. The irony is that the person who actually has their life together probably forgets a bill sometimes too. But in your story, they don't. In your story, they are a mythical creature of perfect organization and calm. You compare your internal chaos to their imagined perfection, and you fall short. The bill becomes the evidence of that shortcoming. So you create a smaller, safer story to get through the moment. I'll deal with it later. This is the most powerful story of all. It's the story of the future you, the more competent you, the you that isn't tired and overwhelmed. You borrow calm from a future version of yourself. It's a promise you make to get through the present anxiety. The problem is, when later arrives, you're still you. You're still carrying the same tired mind, the same emotional associations. The cycle is ready to begin again. The forgetting, then, isn't a memory lapse. It's a narrative choice. It's choosing the story of later over the story of now, because the story of now feels too heavy to hold. Forgetfulness thrives in the mundane. It's not the big, dramatic financial crises that cement this pattern. It's the grinding sameness of the monthly routine. The bills come like clockwork. The first of the month, the 15th. They are relentless. There is no finish line. You pay one, and another is already being generated, already making its way to you. This predictability, instead of making it easier, can make it harder. Because it's not a surprise, it loses urgency. It blends into the background noise of your life. The grocery lists, the work deadlines, the laundry piling up. The bill becomes just another recurring task in a life full of recurring tasks. Your brain, seeking efficiency, starts to filter it out. It becomes invisible. But the emotional weight doesn't disappear. It just becomes a low-grade hum, a constant background stress that you learn to live with. You get used to the faint knot in your stomach when you think about your finances. You normalize the quickening of your heart when you see the bank's name on your caller ID. This is your new baseline. You are always slightly braced for impact. The routine also means there's no clean slate. There's no fresh start. You can't say, okay, that's done, never again. It will be there again in 30 days. This can lead to a kind of financial hopelessness. A feeling of, what's the point of being perfectly on time this month when I'll just have to do it all over again next month? The action feels futile. So you drag your feet, you postpone. You introduce small rebellions against the monotony, even though you're the only one who gets penalized. In this state, your relationship with money becomes purely transactional and negative. Money is only a thing that leaves your account. It's only a source of obligation and loss. You stop feeling any connection to what it provides. The light in your home, the water from your tap, the security of a roof. You only feel the drain. Paying the bill becomes an act of loss, not an exchange for value. And who wants to voluntarily engage with loss? So you create little buffers of time. You wait until the last possible day, sometimes the last possible hour. You're playing chicken with the deadline as if beating it by 1 minute is a victory. It gives you a sense of control, however illusory. You controlled when you felt the discomfort. You put it off until the last second. But this high-wire act adds its own layer of exhaustion. You're constantly aware of the ticking clock. You're never truly relaxed because you're always, in some corner of your mind, remembering something that's due soon. The routine doesn't create the emotional charge, but it reinforces it. Every month, the same trigger. Every month, the same avoidance. Every month, the same guilt. It becomes a loop, and breaking it feels impossible because the loop is built into the structure of your life. Breaking this cycle doesn't start with a better calendar. It starts with a kinder conversation. The first step is to remove the moral judgment. You are not a bad person because you forgot a bill. You are a person responding to a stimulus that has become linked with stress. Your brain is doing what brains do, trying to protect you from discomfort. It's just using a strategy that creates more problems in the long run. The goal is to weaken the link between the bill and the emotional avalanche, to make it neutral again. This requires a deliberate, gentle rewiring. It might feel silly at first, but it's about changing the experience. Start with the smallest possible step. Don't tell yourself, I will pay all my bills on time this month. That's overwhelming. Tell yourself, the next time I see a bill notification, I will open it. That's all. I will just look at it. No pressure to pay immediately, just look. Acknowledge its existence without the demand for action. You are teaching your brain that seeing the bill is safe. It doesn't have to trigger a panic avoidance sequence. Then, create a tiny ritual around the act of paying, one that separates it from the chaos of your day. It could be as simple as making a cup of tea, sitting in a specific chair, and then opening your banking app. You are building a new association. Bill plus tea plus quiet chair equals a calm, controlled task, not a frantic, stressful one. Crucially, you need to reconnect the payment to the value. When you pay the electricity bill, say it out loud. This is for the light, so I can read at night. For the water bill. This is for the hot shower that helps my back feel better. You are translating the loss of money into the gain of a service. You are reminding yourself that this is an exchange, not a punishment. Forgive yourself for the late fees. See them for what they are, the cost of the old system, a tax on your past stress. Pay them and let them go. Holding on to the guilt only fuels the cycle. It's evidence for the failure story. You need to deprive that story of oxygen. This process is slow. There will be setbacks. A month will come where you're overwhelmed and you slip back into avoidance. That's okay. It doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. Notice what happened. What was different that week? Were you more tired? Was there another financial stress? Understanding the trigger is more useful than punishing yourself for the lapse. The objective is not perfection. The objective is to reduce the emotional weight, one bill at a time, to make the task feel like what it actually is, a mundane 3-minute administrative duty, not a referendum on your worth, your competence, or your future. So what does it look like on the other side? It doesn't look like a perfectly color-coded spreadsheet. It looks like a quieter mind. It's the absence of that sinking feeling when you see the logo of your utility company. It's opening a bill email and feeling nothing much. A mild acknowledgement. Ah, yes, this is due on the 10th. The change is internal. The bill has been demoted. It's no longer a psychological event. It's a logistical one. You've successfully separated the task from the story. You remember to pay not because you're afraid, but because it's simply the next thing to do, like brushing your teeth. This doesn't mean financial stress vanishes. Life happens. Unexpected costs still arise. But the monthly obligations lose their power to hijack your emotional state. They take up less mental real estate. You stop carrying the low-grade hum of anxiety about what you might have forgotten. The energy you used to spend on avoidance, on guilt, on that internal bargaining is freed up. It's a small but significant liberation. You begin to trust yourself again. When you say, I'll pay this tonight, you actually do. That restored trust is perhaps the most valuable outcome. It's a foundation. From there, other small acts of financial care become easier. Checking your balance feels like getting information, not facing a judgment. Saving a little money feels like a possibility, not a cruel joke. The goal was never to become the most organized person in the world. The goal was to make peace with a necessary part of life, to look at your financial obligations without flinching, to understand that forgetting was never about your character. It was about your conditioning. It was a coping mechanism that stopped working. You are not your past late fees. You are not the notification you swiped away. You are the person who can, with patience and a little psychological reframing, change the pattern. One quiet moment with a cup of tea, one rephrased thought about the water bill, one deep breath before clicking pay now at a time. If this perspective resonated with you, if it made the struggle feel a little less lonely and a little more understandable, then this channel is here for that. We talk about the human side of money, the psychology behind our habits. Consider subscribing and tapping that notification bell. It's a way to remember to be kind to yourself, with a little nudge from us now and then. Thanks for watching.